Help me hit 7,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and share your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Thank you. I never thought a simple text could change everything. It was 1:07 a.m. when I saw her message blinking on my phone. Don't wait for me tonight. That's all it said. No explanation, no hint of why. Just those words. I stared at the screen for a few moments, my mind racing. My thumb hovered over the keyboard, unsure whether to reply or ignore it. Then I did something I probably shouldn't have. I took a photo of the empty living room, our little nest that had felt so alive before, and sent it back with a simple caption, "Don't worry, no one is waiting for you." 7 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. My heart skipped a beat. I wasn't sure if it was anticipation, fear, or a mixture of both, but I knew in that moment that whatever came next could change everything. I'm Ethan, 37, and I've been married to Clara for 10 years. On paper, we had what people would call a perfect marriage. We worked together, laughed together, shared dreams. She was radiant, full of energy, and could light up a room just by walking into it. I was quieter, a little more grounded, the type who kept his thoughts in check, but I always made sure she felt adored. For years, it worked. We fit together, like pieces of a puzzle that no one else could complete. But things had started to shift over the last year. Small cracks at first. Missed dinners, less laughter, long nights at work, but nothing I could point to directly. I had a nagging sense that something was off, yet I kept telling myself it was just life. Stress, work, bills, deadlines, you know the routine. But deep down, I knew it was more than that. That night, when her message arrived, it hit differently. It wasn't a casual "I'm late" or "be back soon." Carried a weight, a distance I couldn't ignore, the kind of distance that makes your chest tighten without warning. I paced the apartment while waiting for her reply, the photo still sent, still hovering on her screen. I couldn't help replaying the message over and over. Did she mean she was staying out with someone else? Or was it as simple as needing a night to herself? My mind leapt to worst-case scenarios faster than I could stop it. Jasper, our golden retriever, sat at my feet, tilting his head as if he could read my thoughts. He whined softly, and I bent down to scratch behind his ears. Sometimes I swear pets understand more than we give them credit for. He had been with us through every fight, every late-night laugh, every silent tear. Tonight, he seemed to sense that something serious was about to happen. The seconds dragged into minutes. 7, to be precise. That's how long it took before my phone buzzed again. I froze, staring at the screen. Clara's name appeared, but this time it wasn't a text. It was a photo. My stomach dropped as I opened it. It was a picture of herself, sitting in a dimly lit cafe, her eyes barely looking at the camera. The caption was simple, "Guess you were right." I dropped onto the couch, the photo still in my hands. My first reaction was anger. Right? Who was she with? My mind began spinning scenarios, each more dramatic than the last. Then I caught myself. I took a deep breath, something I hadn't done in weeks. This was Clara, the woman I loved, not some stranger in a story I imagined. I had to understand, not assume. Clara had always been straightforward, even when it hurt. That was part of why I loved her. But tonight, the straightforwardness felt like a double-edged sword. The message wasn't an explanation. It was a mirror reflecting the distance I had ignored for too long. I sat there, staring at the photo, replaying memories in my head. Our first date at the little Italian place on Maple Street, the night we adopted Luna, our tiny black cat who now slept curled up on the armchair, the countless nights we stayed up talking about everything and nothing. Everything felt like a lifetime ago, and yet, it was all still here, in this moment, compressed into a single agonizing 7-minute wait. I tried to text her again, but my fingers hesitated. What do you say when the person you love most suddenly feels like a stranger? I typed, deleted, typed again. Finally, I put the phone down. Sometimes silence says more than words. Sometimes it's better to wait until you understand what you're feeling instead of trying to force clarity prematurely. And so I waited, the photo open on my phone, my heart pounding. Waiting became its own punishment. Waiting became a reflection of all the nights I had waited before, for her laugh, her touch, her warmth, and all the nights I hadn't. I realized in that moment that our marriage wasn't broken in a dramatic scene of shouting or betrayal. It was broken quietly, slowly, in the spaces between us, in the nights we spent next to each other but not together. Just as I was beginning to lose myself in thought, my phone buzzed again. I hesitated. I knew this one could change everything. The second photo made me catch my breath. Clara was sitting outside the cafe now, alone at a small table under a flickering street lamp. Her coffee sat untouched, steam curling into the cool night air. Her eyes, though tired, were clear, almost apologetic. The caption read, "I didn't expect you to send that photo, or that it would make me think." I stared at it, frozen. For 10 years we had lived side by side, and yet I had never felt this much distance. Now, in one quiet act, a single photo, she had opened a door I didn't even know existed. It was vulnerability, the kind she rarely showed me anymore, the kind I had longed for but had stopped expecting. I grabbed my coat. Something inside me stirred, a mixture of fear and determination. I didn't know whether I was chasing a fight or closure, but I knew I couldn't let this moment slip past. I stepped out into the cool night, the streets nearly empty, lights reflecting off wet asphalt from an earlier drizzle. The city was quiet, almost conspiratorial, as if it knew I was about to step into unknown territory. When I reached the cafe, I saw her immediately. Clara looked up as I approached, and for a moment, everything froze. She didn't smile, didn't flinch, didn't speak. She just looked at me, and it was enough to make my heart ache. We hadn't had a moment like this in months, maybe years. "Ethan," she whispered, but her voice carried weight I hadn't heard in a long time. I nodded, unsure what to say. Words felt useless in the face of all the unspoken nights, all the silent frustrations, all the moments where we had drifted further apart without noticing. We sat down across from each other. The coffee had grown cold. I glanced at it but didn't move. Neither did she. And for a few minutes we just existed in the same space, the quiet pressing in around us, unbroken. Finally, I spoke. "Why didn't you just say something earlier?" My voice was soft, restrained, but it carried the weight of 1,000 sleepless nights. She sighed, leaning back in her chair. "I didn't know how, and I guess I was afraid." Afraid of what? I wanted to ask, but I stopped myself. There was a time when asking would have sparked an argument, but now I was different. We were both different. I wanted clarity, yes, but also truth. I wanted honesty, even if it hurt. "Afraid of us?" I asked gently. She nodded. "Afraid of saying something that would make everything worse. And afraid that maybe we were already too far apart." Her eyes filled with a quiet regret that I couldn't ignore. I felt something break inside me. Not anger, not sadness, but a strange, bitter kind of relief. Relief that she finally admitted what I had felt all along. The distance wasn't just in my mind. It was real, and she knew it. I took a deep breath. "Clara, I sent that photo not to hurt you, but because I wanted you to see this, that we're here, together in all these years, and sometimes we forget to notice each other. I wanted you to remember that someone does care, even if it feels like you're alone." Her lips trembled, and she looked away. I could see the memories flickering in her eyes, the late nights laughing over takeout, the rainy Sunday mornings we spent tangled in blankets, the countless small moments that had once made up the heartbeat of our marriage. She finally looked back at me. "I didn't realize how much I've been taking for granted," she admitted softly. I thought I needed space to figure myself out, but I didn't see that I was drifting further from the one person who's always been here for me." I reached across the table, hesitated, and then let my hand hover over hers. She didn't pull away. Instead, she placed her hand on mine lightly, almost timidly. That small contact was enough to remind me that love isn't always loud, isn't always dramatic. Sometimes, it's quiet gestures, small acknowledgments, and the courage to face the truth after months of avoiding it. We didn't talk about the nights we felt distant, or the silent resentments that had built up. We didn't make promises or plan future trips. We just sat there, in the dim light, acknowledging each other's presence. That was the beginning. Not fireworks, not grand declarations, just recognition. By the time I walked her home, it was almost 3 a.m. The streets were empty, but for the first time in months, I felt light. Clara paused at her doorstep and looked at me. "Thank you," she whispered, "for not giving up, even when I was ready to." I nodded, my chest tight but warm. "I'll never give up on us," I said. And in that moment, I realized something important. Love doesn't need constant validation. It doesn't need perfection. It needs honesty, presence, and the willingness to show up, even when it's uncomfortable. Sometimes the most powerful gestures are the quiet ones, the ones that remind someone in a simple way that they are seen, they are wanted, and they are never truly alone. That night, I went to bed feeling something I hadn't in months. Hope. Hope that even when distance creeps in, even when mistakes are made, even when words feel insufficient, love can still find its way back. And for the first time in a long time, I knew that no matter what happened, I had shown her what it meant to care, without conditions, without resentment, and without waiting for someone else to notice.